have an obligation for the people that are coming after us, but in the rooms that we're being placed in, it is important to represent and be vocal without compromise and integrity. You still have to be emotionless in response in order to be heard. And I hope that the audience doesn't take that wrong. We just had 120 people on set. Absolutely, we can do a project that really would take 10 people. We can do it, but because they might not see something on our reel as having demonstrated it, they won't give us the opportunity. Our team has seen over the years where we have been wrongly put in positions. People have used our certifications and used our certification to get the project or to land the RFP, request for proposal, or to land the project with the client. But then when it came to an opportunity for us to do the work, we were not allowed an opportunity to even bid on the work. So they have seen us be used for our certification and our qualifications, but then it has not bared out in opportunities for the team. So they have been vocal in sharing it with them, situations that we've been put in, that they're aware. They're aware that it still happens. We had a situation happen, during the pandemic that our team was up in arms about and just furious about. But, we had to point out to them, this is what happened. Somebody used our certification. We didn't get an opportunity. This is the steps that we have taken. And quite honestly, Lisa, I'm not sure how depth you want to go in this, but in the past, as a newly starting off company, we would have not said anything. We would have bit our tongue and just kept moving, right? Just to make sure that the work gets stronger every year, the opportunity, just to keep working and growing, right? Now that we fast forward, a decade, we feel like we're more in a position to speak out, and it's our responsibility.
Yes.
Speak out and call wrongs out and call a spade and highlight it for everybody, not necessarily for us, but for whoever's coming out after us.
That's right.
The opportunity, right? Whatever next Black production company or Black director or executive producer or Hispanic or Asian, whoever's coming after us, we want to make sure that they get the opportunities that we know and have it documented.
Yes.
Now, we're not just going to speak out without documentation. We know, have it documented, and an organization in this city or this North Texas area, we systematically presented it, showed it, presented it again, shared, hey, I don't think this is what you're trying to do, but it looks like this is what you're trying to do, to the end client, and just exposed it all.
Absolutely. And I love you said you're more in a position to do so, because in the beginnings, you're right. There was a lot of things that you overlooked being brand new into the industry, right? You're the second guest who has said this. Another woman by the name of Tori Littlejohn, she's another guest that's been on my podcast. She's the first African-American female to hold the position at a global real estate firm that she holds, which is a managing director for that particular region of brokers and tenant representation and all of that good stuff. But she said the same thing. She said, now it's not like when I first started, how many over years ago, right? It's time for me to leave a legacy better and to speak up when I see the wrong. And I find that interesting that you said the same thing within your industry.
And I think that what's important about that is an important point that we should underscore, maybe space that maybe we would have compromised in our early career, because it was more about, we've got to make sure that we've got cash flow coming in, and to people that have said, yes, I'm willing to eat top ramen for years, but I want to make sure that my team doesn't have to do that. Right.
That's right.
Fast forward now, we have an obligation for the people that are coming after us, but in the rooms that we're being placed in, it is important to represent and be vocal without compromise and integrity, right? It's got to be, and now kind of growing more into it, kind of to what Tori said, you still have to be emotionless in response in order to be heard. And I hope that the audience doesn't take that wrong. it's important in this situation that I'd explained, and I don't want to give names, of course.
Absolutely, right.
We were emotionless, but purposeful in our responses, written as well as verbally.
Yes.
So that it can change the system. And the system for this organization did change as a result of us being vocal. So I want to bring that back and underscore that.
Very good.
We're vocal, the system changed. They hired another consultant to come in and rewrite all their processes. So in essence, it will be more equitable and fair going forward. But we had to do it, make sure that we weren't, all up in arms in an emotional state. We had to make sure that the facts were the facts, and we laid it all out so that now that we were in this room, that we could be vocal without losing our integrity.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you were very intentional on how you entered into correcting this process. Intentional, strategic, however you want to name it. And very smart, very good. Well, let me segue into the next question here. Who has been some of your greatest mentors, Sarah?
Okay.
I don't know if you can name them, or those who've inspired you as a woman of faith and a successful entrepreneur.
I would say from a faith perspective, like my grandmother prayed for me from a very young child, and I was the only grandkid. I'm just going to put a plug in there. I was the only grandkid that got to have a gold frame. There were 13 of us, and I was the only one that got to have a gold frame. I don't know if it's because she needed extra prayer for me or what it was, but she just was really intentional. I spent a lot of summers with her. I would go to church with her and all that stuff. She was probably the first, and I was also a very bad, wild child. And she would always—
I do not believe that. I do not believe that.
I promise you. Yes, I promise you. And she would always tell my mother, don't give up on her. She is going to make you very proud one day, because I was bad. I was a bad. And she—
Did you say there's 13 of you? Did I hear you say
13,
that?
not kids, but grandkids. There were 13 grandkids.
Grandkids. Okay. Okay.
So she was probably my first inspiration of really understanding somebody that she, would recite the 23rd Psalm, with me and all that kind of stuff. She taught me that. And so from an inspiration, from a faith perspective, she's like my first. And then as I've grown on, I've had some great male mentors when I was in Pfizer. Dwayne Wright, I just remember him being like the first man that sat me down, African-American man that sat me down and said, okay, sis, do this, don't do this. I want to make sure that you're successful. So, him, and then from other women like in this community that kind of balance both business as well as faith. St. Marshall is just incredible, and Patrice Ellis Kirk, and I've just seen these amazing pillars. Oprah, of course, has been, Michelle Obama. Those are great pillars that are unapologetic about who they are and their faith. And I love that. So, I gravitate towards that. But, it first started with my grandma.
Love that. And that's a foundation that I feel like it should start with, right? It's that in your life.
Two other things that I got from my grandma, I will just say. She loved to look at the dessert menu first. So I always try my dessert whenever I'm at someplace, like if there's a banquet or something, I'll try my dessert to see if I'm got to save room for it. And then she was always beautifully dressed until the day she passed. And I try to model myself after that.
Oh, I love that, Sarah. I love that. There's something, grandparents play such a huge role in our lives. And, it's so funny as we're going through this interview, Sarah, there's so much more that I relate to with you, even though, and I knew that back then, but so much more now, just the things that you're saying. So the whole grandmother scenario and an example I can relate to so much, something very special. Oh,